And now, ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show, direct from the bar,
PB.
Guess who's back? Back again.
What's going on out there, peeps? Yep, that's right. Guess who's back? Back again. Big Shady. I'm talking about Maliki. Guess what Maliki is doing? He is attempting to be the Prime Minister of Iraq for a second time. I'm not even kidding. That would be disastrous, in my opinion, for those of us who are invested in Iraq at all. So let's go ahead and get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. Okay, we'll start with a little news about the Iraqi Stock Exchange. Their weekly transactions hit 6.6 million US dollars. The Iraqi Stock Exchange revealed on Tuesday that trading volume during the previous week surpassed 8 billion Iraqi dinars, approximately $6.6 million. Investors exchanged shares in 64 firms, 30 businesses shares, had no activity owing to mismatched buys and sell orders. Now this part right here is not good. 30 businesses shares had no activities owing to mismatched buy and sell orders. This could really screw somebody's money up. If you're an investor and they can't get their crap together and you see that, it's really hard to have a lot of faith in the Iraqi Stock Exchange. Now, I still have faith in them, but that's something you don't want to read. You know, that they mismatch buy and sell orders. While 10 of the 104 listed firms remain suspended for failing to submit mandatory disclosures, according to a report cited by the news. Again, that's another thing you don't want to read. So there's 104 firms listed on the stock exchange. 10 of them were suspended because they didn't report the necessary information that they're supposed to report to the stock exchange. Now, I get it. They're still a little bit rusty, but even so, as an investor, you don't want to see crap like that. The stock market recorded 4,685 transactions worth 8.75 billion Iraqi dinars, representing a 54% decline in volume and a 0.49% rise in value compared to the previous week. So you have a decline in volume of more than 50%, but we had an increase of almost 50% in the value compared to the previous weeks. See, I don't care about the trade volume because we're not buying and selling at the moment. So who cares about the trade volume? But we like to see that the values are going up. That's a biggie. The ISX 60 index finished at 952.03 points, rising 1.34% compared to the previous session. Foreign investors bought 1.12 million shares worth 220 million Iraqi dinars in 64 transactions and sold 76 million shares worth 161 million Iraqi dinars. So, a mixture of news. You know, you don't want to hear that they're screwing things up because it could cost somebody their money. So, here we go. This is what I've been monitoring closely. Reconstruction Bloc backs Iraq's Al-Sudani for another term. We know that because the Reconstruction Bloc is his group. It's the one he created. So the Reconstruction and Development Alliance, led by Al-Sudani, reaffirmed on Tuesday its nomination for the caretaker prime minister for a second term, describing his previous tenure as a successful experience. Yes, it was. That's why I'm excited to see if he can get a second term. Now, I know there's people out there saying 1,000% he's going to be the prime minister. I don't want to get my hopes up too much because this is the part of the election that I don't like. I told you, Maliki is really good at this time of the year after elections, when it's time to gather up the blocks necessary to control the government. According to a statement issued after the alliance regular meeting, members reviewed the ongoing negotiations amongst Iraq's major blocs. See, they're trying to push and jockey for who can get the most blocks. They emphasized adherence to constitutional timelines for forming the next government and highlighted the need for political, economic, and securing program capable of addressing the country's major challenges. And Al-Sudani done a great job, you guys. Come on, he was able to avoid conflict. He was able to do a lot of business and help Iraq grow economically. He stabilized the country, he stabilized the economy, and he's definitely stabilized the Iraqi Dinar. The alliance position comes as several Shiite contenders remain under discussion for the premiership. So you see, it's not just Al-Sudani. This is several contenders. Names circulating within the coordination framework, the Shiite alliance now positioning itself as the largest bloc. Also included state-of-the-law leader Maliki. That's right, halfway through this year, Maliki left and formed a new group called State of the Law, and he left the coordinating framework. Now, he still works with the coordinating framework, don't get me wrong, but he's not part of their group anymore. So Maliki has formed his own group. Accountability and Justice Commission Chief and Bashar Governor, forget it, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, while Intelligence Director is expected to be dropped from the consideration. So we got at least three individuals who have now dropped out of the race to be the prime minister. And that's good in Al-Sudani's case. Iraq's established power sharing arrangement continues to shape these negotiations with the premiership reserved for the Shia figure. The speakership are for the Sunnis and the presidencies are for the Kurds. And the thing is, over there, the president is not the most powerful political position. The prime minister is. Al-Sudani's standing has been strengthened by the recent parliamentary elections, in which his alliance won 46 seats, the largest share of new legislators. Members of the coordinating framework acknowledge that this result has bolstered his legitimacy within the bloc. However, internal deliberations take into account the challenges he faced while in office, including public criticism over corruption scandals, slow reforms, and recurring service and energy crisis. So we continue with another article. It says Iraq's Al-Sudani has a slim chance of securing second term, experts and officials say. A race for the prime minister position is ongoing amid heated negotiations between political blocs. So come on, Al-Sudani, we need him to get in there a second term. Talks should take place between Iraq's major parties to form a new government and elect a new prime minister, a position the incumbent Al-Sudani is seeking to renew, but for which experts and officials say his chances are slim. Despite Al-Sudani's electoral bloc, the Reconstruction and Development Coalition, coming first in the elections, winning 46 parliamentary seats out of 329, it failed to obtain the decision-making majority. Iraq's electoral system is designed to prevent the monopolization of a single ruling party, but this often means a long road ahead to form a government. See, that's what I was telling people. They were so excited. They're saying, oh, his coalition had won the most seats. I said, now is the time. This is when you have to negotiate, and you have to get people to join your group and form the biggest blocs. That's how you get the power. And this is where Maliki is the best. Al-Sudani has never been likely to get a second term because he has both too few seats and too many at the same time. He has too few because it takes at least 60 to 70 seats to be able to demand their premiership as a solo effort, and too many because the other Shia parties want to share a controllable prime minister who has no seats or almost no seats, and those people end up controlling the prime minister because in order for the prime minister to become the prime minister, they have to do the bidding of what these people want if they allow that person to be the prime minister. The Ruling Coordination Framework Coalition, which includes most of the Shiite blocs, had clear winners. The main one being former Prime Minister Maliki's State of the Law bloc, which landed 29 seats. Al-Khazli, a militia leader designated a global terrorist by the U.S., made significant gains in the vote. His coalition won 27 seats. Most Iraqi political parties, especially the Shiites, have developed a firm conviction that allowing any prime minister to serve more than one term upsets the political balance. But yeah, the fact that they try to keep him to one term means there's not a lot of consistency in the prime minister's position, and this is why they can never get anything accomplished. The experience of Maliki's second term revealed the possibility of a premiership turning into an independent power center capability of building a deep political and a security network that could override the will of the political blocs and threaten their interests, even the political system itself. So when Maliki was prime minister, he tried to consolidate all the power because he wanted to be the next Saddam Hussein. It just so happened it didn't work out, thank goodness. But there is also the belief that Prime Minister seeking a second term has often accumulated experience and networks of influence within state institutions, making him more independent and less susceptible to pressure. This could create the prospect of forming a deep state that extends into the security, economic, and foreign affairs sectors, turning executive power into a closed system. So far, Al-Sudani doesn't enjoy the same broad support within the coordination framework. When he was nominated to that position back in 2022, the Shiite politician told The National there is still a rugged road ahead for him. The alliance is discussing several candidates for the position of Prime Minister. He is said to be amongst those on the short list are head of the Federal Commissions of Integrity, Basra's governor, and the Intelligence Services chief. Al-Sudani announced he was once again joining the Coordination Framework Coalition. And I'm wondering if he is joining the Coordination Framework because Maliki is no longer there. This gives the bloc an outright majority with nearly 175 seats and the opportunity to select a prime minister. But will they pick Al-Sudani? The framework is clear that it wants somebody who does not have a party, who does not have bigger political ambitions in terms of running for the next elections. Somebody they feel they'll be able to control better. That sort of criteria means that Al-Sudani is expected to be excluded. See, isn't that crazy? Instead of letting the prime minister do what he needs to do, they're worried about a person that they put in as a prime minister is somebody they can manipulate and control. Al-Sudani has very slim chances of securing a second term. He added he didn't overachieve in the elections. He didn't pick up 70 or 100 seats. Throughout his election campaign, Al-Sudani's bid for office was built on his government success in improving services, maintaining balanced relations between Tehran and Washington, and steering Iraq clear of regional conflict following Israel's war with Gaza Strip. Yeah, I think he really did an outstanding job, better than most of the past prime ministers that I can think of. We cannot deny some of Al-Sudani's successes in certain areas, but there are also failures, a Shiite politician linked to an armed faction told The National. The first of which is a strong inclination towards Washington, which has shown his willingness to make concessions that could harm the interests of his alliance, of his allies who initially supported him, and that is worrying us. So yeah, Al-Sudani had a cozy relationship with the United States while he was prime minister, against the better judgment of those who put him into power. One of the most important conditions for his nomination in 2022 was not to build a party base and to enter the elections, and therein itself was a challenge to the partners. Because he definitely built a base, there's no doubt about it. That's how he was able to form his own coalition. The main red line for the coordination framework was that Al-Sudani crossed his ambition to evolve beyond the assignment roles of a general manager. His gradual push for more independent foreign policy, coupled with his self-promotion as the guardian of Iraq's stability amid a highly volatile geopolitical conflict, has alarmed established veterans from the Shiite powerhouse like Maliki. See, instead of focusing on what it is Iraqi people need, they're more focused on the power they might lose. They started feeling more threatened by Al-Sudani comparatively high credibility on the streets, which has been gaining traction since the municipal elections. Ms. Rudolph said despite the challenges that Al-Sudani faces, he is perceived as a relatively healthier choice, especially for those who want to keep Iraq out of regional escalations with Israel and to maintain balanced ties with Iran and the U.S., which is a very huge steps for Iraq. And it's a shame that the coordination framework don't want the same thing as him. But being that they're Iranian-backed politicians, you can understand why they're reluctant to have any kind of relationship with the United States. The final decision for the post will also need the backing of the dominant Kurdish and Sunni blocs. For the Sunni bloc's former parliamentary speaker, Halabasi came first in the Sunni community and landed more than 71,000 votes, making him the third largest vote winner nationwide. Now that's a give me. He's been their speaker before. He lost it due to some illegal crap that he was involved in, but you can see it didn't take much for him to get right back in there. He was voted in as the speaker once again for the Sunnis. A political advisor for the Tekkadome told The National several candidates are running for the role, but he also believed the incumbents' odds are long. So far, Al-Sudani's chances remain low because there is a strong campaign from Maliki to gain the position. but the final decision depends on the coordination framework. Maliki wants to be the prime minister. He was already the prime minister one time. I wouldn't trust him in that position. Let me tell you now, if Maliki wins the prime ministership, I can tell you right now, the United States is not going to be happy about this. Kurdistan is not going to be happy about this. All hell's going to break loose. No cooperation, and you're not going to see any kind of growth for Iraq. Instead, what you're going to see is a selfish individual trying to be the next Saddam Hussein all over again. 9 to 10 candidates are running for the post under the framework. With nominations continuing, names are floating around, but nothing is solid. Al-Sudani is now a part of the framework and will adhere to its instructions and requirements, but the final decision remains unknown. The Kurdistan Democratic Party gained more than 1 million votes and secured 27 seats. Talks between officials from the coordinating framework and Barzani, the KDP leader, are underway. So those are 2 to 3 you usually see at the top. Halabasi and Barzani, and whoever the prime minister is. An official from the KDP told the National the party does not oppose al-Sudani's run for office. We have no veto over any individual. We have been very close with all parties. Our sole criterion for supporting any candidate is their commitment to implementing the Constitution in its entirety from A to Z. The Constitution cannot be treated like a restaurant menu, where some articles are selected and others are ignored or placed aside. It must be applied fully, fairly, and consistently. With more prominent political leaders winning in the election, from Shiites to Sunnis, the coordination framework is also looking into a possibility of reactivating vice president positions. These were abolished in 2015 as part of the reform package to reduce expenses, but were reinstated by the federal courts the following year. However, they have remained vacant since. So Al-Sudani has a slim chance and a long road ahead, but like I said, let's keep your fingers crossed that he gets the prime minister position again. It appears that Maliki wants to be the prime minister. God forbid him ever becoming prime minister again. Because if he does, I think he's going to be more of a pain in the ass than he is doing what's right for the Iraqi people. Anyways, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. That's it for now. I'm out.